Through this video, I'm going to give you some hints about what you should be doing on each of these types of problems on your review guide to help you better prepare for your test. For questions 1 through 6, all of these you're given two sides and you're finding the third in a right triangle. So for all of these, you're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. When you do that, what's important is identifying your c term first. Make sure that that is whatever is across from the right angle. So for example, in number 3, it's your 8.1, and in number 1, it's your x. So then when you set it up, for example, here I do 9 squared plus 17 squared equals x squared, and solve from there. Here the direction says to round to the nearest tenth, so you don't have to worry about simplifying the radical, but I did give you those answers as well on your review guide on the back. For the second section, you're figuring out if it is a triangle or not, and then what kind it is. To figure out if it's a triangle or not, make sure that the two smaller numbers add to be bigger than the third. So for example, you make sure that 16 plus 21 is bigger than 28, and it is, so you can keep solving on that one. To figure out what kind, you would do 16 squared plus 21 squared and see how that compares to 28 squared. So in my calculator here, I can have do that for me. We get 697, and I'm comparing that to 784. Since the 28 squared is bigger, this is an acute triangle. So if it is less than, oh, sorry, this is an obtuse triangle. So if it is less than, it's obtuse. If it is greater than, it's right, acute, and if it is equal to, it is right. So make sure you have those memorized for the test, because I will not give you that information when you take the test. On numbers 11 through 15, this is another section where you have to have some stuff memorized. And use these special triangles right here that we talked about in class. It will not give you those on the test. What this will do for you, though, is help you to figure out what the different lengths are. For example, if you look at number 5, we know these are both my w's. I would encourage you to write the w's there, and the y is your w root 2. That means that the x and the 5 are the same, so x is 5. And to get from w to w root 2, you would multiply by this root 2, so y is 5 root 2. Some of these will work backwards, so like number 13, and we're going to match it with my 30, 60, 90 triangle. So this is w root 3, and 2w. I start knowing a bigger side, so I need to divide to get to my regular w. So that tells me x is 22 divided by 2, or 11. To get to my w root 3 side, I'm going to multiply by the root 3, so this would be 11 root 3. For a hint on number 15, make sure that you start in this little triangle first, or over in 16 you'll start in the one with the number, but pick one and start it. So for example, I would start here with my 45, 45, 90 and figure out that, hey, y is 8, and this side has to be 8 root 2. Once you know that, now you can switch triangles and figure out the other lengths missing there, using now your 30, 60, 90 values. So pick one and start there. 17 and 18 are very similar problems, so I'll just do one of them. In both, you're going to have to start by solving your right triangle. In 18, the catch is that you have to remember that this tangent of 5 equaling 5 over 12 really tells you these two lengths. Okay? When you solve for that missing side, so for example, using Pythagorean theorem, this missing side over here is square root of 51. I can now set up my 3 ratios for angle B. Since this is opposite and 10 is my hypotenuse, sine of B would be root 51 over 10. Cosine of B needs my adjacent, which would be 7 over 10, and then tangent would be root 51 over 7. I will on the test give you this the ratios, but you can absolutely have those memorized as well to make it a little bit easier. Okay, this page is going to make sure you know how to use your trig to solve for either an angle or a side. Remember that for a side, you're going to use your regular trig functions, whereas for an angle, you're going to use your inverse trig functions. So on one like number 23, again, I would start by labeling all my sides based on their angle. I already know the C is 90 degrees. I know little c is 9 and little a is 4.2. Personally, to find b, I would do Pythagorean theorem. So set that up just like we did earlier. To find an angle, this is where you're going to need inverse trig. So if I want to find angle A, you get to pick which one you want to start with. Think about what you know. Well, I know the opposite and I know the hypotenuse. So that means I'm going to do sine of A equals 4.2 over 9. And then to get that A by itself, you're doing the inverse sine of 4.2 over 9. Make sure your calculator is in the correct mode, because if it's not, it won't do it correctly. Here I'm going to get 27.8 degrees, and then to find your angle B, you can just subtract those two from 180. Number 24 is a little bit different, but you're doing basically the same thing. You can find your third angle here by subtracting from 180, just like we just did on the last one. And to find your sides, you're going to have to do trig at least one time. So say I want to find side B. What I would do from this 40, the 9 is opposite, the B is adjacent. So I would use tangent of 40 equals opposite over adjacent. This is one where I would cross multiply and get 9 equals tangent of 40 times B. You would divide that out, and so I'll type in 9 divided by tangent of 40 is 10.7. Then, to find your third side, you can either do Pythagorean theorem or a second set of trig. Whatever you want to do is up to you. On these next ones, it is the same process. You're still finding missing sides, but you have to make sure that you can set up your picture. Remember, angle of elevation means that you draw a horizontal line and you're looking up. So in this scenario, my 24 is right here. You know that she is 36 feet from the base of the screen, so this is her and this is my TV screen. This is 36. I want to know how tall it is, so there's my X. Give yourself as much context as you need so that you can set it up correctly. But then, based on my picture, I would do opposite over adjacent, so tangent to find that X. So for example, tangent of 24 equals opposite over adjacent, and you would solve that problem. In the opposite direction, angle of depression means you draw your horizontal line and you look down. So this is 15 degrees. He is 228 feet above the water while he's parasailing. And I want to know the horizontal distance, so that would be my picture. And again, I would set up. This example is also tangent, and you'll be able to set it up and solve for X. If you are finding the angle, like I'm doing here, again, it's depression. So I draw the horizontal and look down. I want to find this angle, and I know that the lighthouse that he's in, so this vertical is the same as this vertical, is 275, and it is 1324 feet offshore. And I would be able to do inverse tangent on this one to find that angle. Okay, on 32 and 33, you're solving these for the area of these different shapes. I'll do the hexagon since your homework had a pentagon on it already. Okay, since it is inscribed in a circle with radius of 10, that means the radius basically, so from the angle back in of all the way around, is 10. And what that really does for me is gives me all these little triangles that I can find the area of. So I know these are 10. And with my area formula, the 1/2 A times B times sine of C, I can find the area of each of those triangles. This formula you have to have memorized. I will not give it to you on the test, so do make sure you commit that to memory. And then we're going to go ahead and actually find this. To do that, I already know my side lengths, but I need the angle between them. To find that, remember we did 360, because all the way around is 360 degrees, divided by how many triangles I have here. So divided by 6, which gives us 60 degrees. Then when I plug it in, it's 1/2 of 10 times sine of 60. Which is 43.3, and to get the area of the whole hexagon, then I will multiply the 43.3 by 6 and get 259.8. To find the sides then, I know this is 10. I drop in this altitude, which cuts my angle at the top in half. and you will be able to find this missing side down here at the bottom using sine. So I can do sine of 30 equals x over 10. You will find that x is 5, which means the whole length here is going to be 10, and then the perimeter is 60 when you multiply that through. On on 34, this is similar to the one that we did. You're going to draw your triangles. You know they start from 20 feet away. Hannah, for example, has a 12.1 degree angle, and we want to know how high that ball will be after she kicks it. So that's really what we're figuring out. When you solve this, so I'm going to do tangent of 12.1 equals x over 20. I can solve that. It's going to tell me that the ball will be 4.3 feet in the air. So she'll be between this 4 and 5, which means she'll score 100 points.